Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm back to work on this little gear project I'm doing for a viewer for an old Camelback drill press. And in a previous episode, we had roughed out a gear blank here, got it mounted onto a shaft that it goes on, and I'd started drilling 2 pins for 1/4 inch dowel rods as well as 4 holes for some socket cap screws to hold the gear onto the blank, or the blank onto the gear here, or whatever you want to call it. We had to stop because I needed a counterbore for the socket cap screws. Didn't have one, had to order them. So I've got that in. I want to continue along with this project and get this thing knocked out. So let me zoom you in here, show you where we're at, and we'll get started back on this and hopefully get this gear here finished up in this episode. So again, previously we went ahead and drilled out a couple of holes for a 1/4 inch dowel rod to go into, and these were reamed a 1/2 thousandths undersized, so we'll have a nice press fit into there. I've also got 4 more holes in here that will hold a socket cap screw, and this is a 1032, so I've got a number 20 drill bit that we'll be drilling the holes with. That's the tap size for the 1032, and from there we will counterbore that and tap them out. So let's go ahead and get it going. I've got this mounted on a super spacer. This will help me index. I got it set on 45 degrees right now, which I've got 4 of the holes for the socket cap screws plus the 2 in between for the dowel rods. So let's go ahead and get these drilled, and we'll continue on. I'd already gone around and kind of spotted all the holes there where I want these to be with a center drill. The outside gear here is made of steel, whereas the hub that this is mounted on is cast iron, so you will see the chips change when we go from one to the other. I'm in the cast iron now. You can see that's drilling much easier. Alright, that's more than deep enough. And we will continue on here. That one we're not going to put a hole there. We do have one going here. All right, continuing on, that's a dowel hole. This one will be a screw. Again, skip that one, and then this will be the last of the 4 socket cap screw holes. All right. Before we counterbore these, I need to drill out a little bit of a pilot here for this to go down. Basically, the hole that I drilled was for the tap size. I need to have thread clearance for the pilot on this counterbore, so I've got a number 11 drill bit, which should do me the trick. And we're just going to go in here and drill out a little bit of a opening there for the pilot to get going. I'll just go ahead and hit all these real quick. All right, and now I'm going to put my counterbore in. And we'll go around on all these. Now this is going to open up the hole there for the socket cap screw. I think that'll be plenty. All right, I think we got all of our drilling done. First things first, I'm going to put the dowel pins in, and Probably doesn't need it, but I'm going to put a little Loctite on these just to kind of help hold them in place. And basically I'm just going to take my arbor press. I'm going to put a punch above it to help drive it down because it is in such a tight area there. And let's see if we can press that in. All right, that first dowel is in. You can see it back there. We'll do the same thing with the second dowel. Put a little Loctite on them. And there we go. They are pinned. These dowel pins will really kind of help keep that gear from spinning on the hub, and the screws will keep it from coming off. I'm just going to take a hand tap here, and we will go ahead and thread these holes. And now we'll drop our socket cap screws in here, and I got some brand new ones. I'm not going to reuse the old ones. I've got them. Main reason, make sure we don't have any problems. Probably could reuse the old ones just fine, but I like replacing hardware on old stuff like this. You just don't ever know if something's starting to strip out or whatever. So this way you don't have to worry about it. And there we go. We've got the 4 cap screws in there, the 2 drive pins in there. That ought to be more than enough to drive that gear and hold it in place. Probably overkill, but hey, nothing too strong ever broke, in the words of my friend Tom Lipton. So we're going to take this over to the lathe now, and we will turn the outside diameter of this gear to the correct diameter and then get ready to start cutting some gear teeth. Got my part over on the lathe now. We're chucked up in here, and what we need to do is turn this outside diameter. According to the math, let's see, this is a 10 pitch, 37 tooth. The outside diameter should be 3.900 inches. We're starting out a little over 4 inches. I got about 50 thousandths to take off this diameter to get where I need to be. So we're just going to come in here. I'm going to start by just cleaning it up. And I think I'm just going to take about 25 thou off that diameter, get a good measurement, and finish it up. That's not quite cleaning it up, but should be enough to get a good measurement on. Let's see roughly where we're at here. Yeah, I've still got about 30 thou to come off of there. I'm going to take another 20. This should be it right here. I'm not going to drag my tool back across that. I'm going to use a little threading tool to come in here and chamfer these edges. Same thing, come back here on the back side. I got just at least a little bit of run out on this face. I'm going to try to clean that up. I think that gear is ready to go over to the milling machine and put some teeth on it. And here we are over at the dividing head. I want to go ahead and get this gear mounted up in here. Now, I'm not real tickled. I don't have very much engagement back here on the chuck. And because of the hole in the center, I don't have a place to put a center. So what I did is I made a little plug that fits up inside that bore that does have a center in here. And now I can bring my tailstock, footstock up on this and get it all lined up. Let me get that footstock loose. So I should be all set up here to cut the gears now. A couple of things to note. I'm not going to go through the whole setup. I've done that many times on other videos. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to go take a look at some of my older videos on gear cutting where I do go into depth on exactly step by step how to set this up. I will note that I did change out my dividing heads. For you guys that watch the channel a lot, you know that I have a Model H and a Model K dividing head. The Model K dividing head is a little bit larger dividing head. Better fits this milling machine. This is a Model K size machine, but I've still got this smaller Model H. The reason that I swapped them out was for this gear I need to cut 37 teeth, and I did not have the plate on the Model K dividing head to give me 37 divisions, whereas I do on this Model H dividing head. And the plate that I need for 37 teeth is, ironically, a 37 tooth or 37 hole plate. This is a 40 to 1 ratio dividing head, so the math on that turns out 1 full turn plus 3 holes will give me 37 teeth over here on the gear. I would have rather used the larger dividing head, but like I said, I don't have the right plate to give me this particular division. Over here, I've got my gear mounted up in the chuck on the dividing head. There is a pretty small area that's gripping that, and I was afraid that without the footstock down here to give it support, that the cutter may want to tend to pull it out. So I did, if you remember, this has a big hole in it, so I made a little plug that fits up inside that hole that has a center in it so that I could get this footstock up on it just to give me that little bit extra support. I think it's going to help out a lot. I've already got the cutter centered up on the gear. I've already got my depth dialed in. According to the math here, total depth of cut is going to be 216 thousandths. What I like to do is to do this in 2 passes, at least on the first one. I will go ahead and I've got it dialed in 150 thousandths of depth. I'll make a full revolution. We'll measure that across some pins and then put in the final amount as a second pass. The machine should take the whole depth out, but because I'm only cutting 1 gear to set up on, I like doing setting up with 2 passes just so that I can get a good measurement. So I think we're ready to go. Again, I did some checking on speeds and feeds. I'm running at 125 RPMs, and right now I'm on 4 1/4 inches per minute on the feed rate. Can probably go a little bit faster, but I tend to be a little conservative and take my time on these things. These aren't production jobs. I'm not in a big rush to get them knocked out. So let's get in here and see if we can make a couple of cuts, make sure everything feels good on the speeds and feeds. If I need to, we can make some adjustments and go ahead and get this thing cut out. I am just going to put a little cutting oil up on these by hand here, and we're going to go ahead and feed in here and see what things sound like. As we normally have, these cutters rarely seem to run true. So we are cutting a little bit heavy on one side, but I think we'll be fine. I got this thing set up to automatically stop. We'll back out till we clear and go ahead and make our first turn. And here we go, second cut. And it's rinse and repeat 37 times to make this gear. And then we'll have to make a measurement and do a second pass. But appears to be cutting just fine. I wish that cutter was running a little bit truer, but like I said, that's not unusual at all. We'll continue on. We'll bring you guys back in a little bit. All right, we've made our first pass. I have dialed in the rest of the depth on these, and I did decide to slow my feed rate down just a little bit. Hopefully get a little bit better finish on this final pass. I'm not cutting near the depth on the second pass as I am the first one, and I'm going a little bit slower. And I'm hoping between the two I get a little bit better finish on that cut. Not that it was bad, but I think we can stand for a little improvement. So let me come out of this cut. Yeah, that's much better. That is the final depth. So we will make another round all the way around, 37 more teeth to cut. This will take a little while. But we will bring you guys back in a little bit. Once we get around this time, we should be right where we need to be on this gear as far as depth is concerned, and should have it all done. This depth here should completely form that involute shape, and like I said, we'll be done on this pass. Should be the last one. Well, there we go. One gear all cut out. I've got it all deburred. I did have some burrs back here on the back, but I went over to a Scotch-Brite wheel and basically cleaned those up, and everything looks great. I did check it over the wires, and everything checks out on the dimension, so everything looks good on this one. All that is left to do is we need to finish broaching these holes back out, or these keys back out. They went a little bit up into this outer area, so let me see if I can get that done, and I think we'll have this first gear knocked out. We're ready to go ahead and broach this key out a little bit wider. This is not a standard size key. It's a lot deeper, but I think I can still do it with the broach set. So I've got a bushing that fits in here. Normally you would run your broach down through here, you know, one pass at a time and kind of nibble this thing out. Because most of it's already formed, we're kind of skipping ahead, and what you do is you just put some shims back behind this cutter as you go. Normally 2 shims on a 3/8 inch broach is all you need, but because this one's deeper, I've got some extra ones in there. And what I've got now is this broach is just now starting to kind of come in contact with the front there. And I'm going to go ahead and run this on through, and that's not going to cut a whole bunch on that first pass. Just knock the corners off. See if I can find me another spacer to go behind it. So we got another shim in there, and this will take another bite. That should kind of pick up where the last one kind of cut out at. I'll put a little cutting oil on this. Each tooth is just a little bit deeper, and it just kind of nibbles that thing out. Go. I want to see if I'm deep enough yet. The key now pretty much is right in line with the back side of that, so that's deep enough. I'm going to flip it around and we'll do the other side. We'll start with 4 broach bushings again here, or spacers. That should just barely cut on this first pass, and the second pass should take it to its final depth. So it is cutting right there, but just barely. Put our spacer in again, take another pass, and this should get us to the final depth. All right, that should get us. Well, here we go, all finished up. So we got that new gear is completely made. It's on the new shaft, or on the old shaft, I guess. We got our keys broached out here, and it is ready to go. So I've got 2 more gears that kind of go with this set that I've still got to make. This one is a standalone. The other 2 are on the same shaft. I'm going to be working on that in a upcoming video, but this one is knocked out and ready to go back. Let's see if we can get the other ones knocked out too, and we'll have this job finished up. Well, there you go, guys. 1 gear knocked out. Check that off the list. Like I said, we're going to work on these other gears coming up. I got these 2 here still to make. These nest together over here on the single shaft. This one is pretty bad off, so we're going to be making this shaft first, and then we'll make this gear that will press up on it a little bit later on after that. So with that, that is a wrap on this video, guys. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. And as always, a big, huge thank you out there to all the supporters who support the site financially. Literally could not do everything we do without you guys' help, and we greatly appreciate it. And with that, we will sign off, and we will catch you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.